How's it going? Armagini here. Welcome to another video. You might be surprised to hear my voice this time, but there was just too much to say and it was turning into a word slideshow and nobody wants that. Everybody knows about decoupled mode and coupled mode, but I want to talk about the third mode. I have no idea what it's called or even if it has a name, but it's definitely distinct enough that I think it should have a name. I like to call it vector hold mode or landing mode. It might be something you already use all the time. In that case, this video might not be that useful for you. But who knows, you might learn something anyway, so stick around. If you've never heard of this, and have no idea what I'm talking about, this should be pretty useful. I definitely found it very helpful for landing, and it's a nice blend between decoupled and coupled. So what exactly does vector hold mode do? Well, just like it sounds, it holds a vector. So kind of like in coupled mode, where you take your hands off the controls, the ship's going to fire thrusters in a way that makes sense to bring the ship to a stop. In vector hold mode, you take your hands off the controls, and the ship's going to try and maintain a certain vector. It's going to fire the thrusters in a way that makes sense to keep the ship flowing on a certain vector, keeping going in a straight line through space. It'll counter gravity, it'll counter wind to a certain extent, and try its best to keep going on that line, all dependent on how strong the thrusters are on the ship that it's using to try and perform that action. So if you're upside down in a storm, in high gravity, it might not work out for you. Generally, it works pretty well, though. Here's how I like to use it. First things first, there's two game settings I recommend changing. The first is proximity assist defaults on. Make sure that's no. What this does is limit your thrust when you're close to the ground. This can be especially apparent when you're in a larger ship. The next one is space brake engages boost. Yes. I like to have this on as I normally only use the space brake in short bursts, and it makes the space brake much more effective. Here's a quick overview of how I have the screen set up for this video. Top left is basically my left stick plus some buttons. Top right is my right stick. Bottom right, outside view. In the center, I'm going to be referring to the vector indicator a lot. It's the two little chevrons in the middle there. If you're not familiar with the vector indicator, it does basically exactly what it sounds like. It indicates your vector. So it's a visual representation of where the ship is calculating it will be in the future. I also have an overlay for keyboard and mouse flight that you'll see later on in the video when I'm demonstrating how to do vector hold mode with that control setup. It's fairly self-explanatory. Getting into vector hold mode is super easy. All you have to do is be decoupled and have the gear down. So here I'm starting my approach, and you can see I'm starting out coupled, and so my vector indicator is staying straight ahead of me and not moving. Now I'm decoupled, I'm having to fight gravity. So I'm having to put in vertical thrust inputs to keep those chevrons from sinking down. So basically the ship is trying to fall down with gravity. Now I just put the gear down, and you'll see as soon as the gear is down, notice those chevrons freeze. So the vector indicator has frozen. So now the ship is automatically countering gravity, countering all external forces, and is going exactly where those things are. It's essentially just become a this is where you're going to land indicator. So now it's as easy as just using my lateral thrust inputs to position that thing where I want to land. Put it right there. Yep, that looks like a good spot to land. Get my ship leveled out. And then you can tap brake, which I didn't actually need to use here. And you get a smooth landing. So now I'm going to go do it again, but this time it's going to be a little bit more of an aggressive landing, and I'm going to show how you can use a combination of VTOL and your space brake to basically stop on a dime. This is really useful for, panic mode. One, like you're not paying attention, you're coming a little too hot, or for more like a, tactical insertion. Steep dive. We are decoupled. And this is about where I would normally start panicking. VTOL mode. Space brake. And she stopped. Holding down space brake. Tap gear. I'm still decoupled. Notice I haven't fallen out of the sky. Now I can let go of space brake. Notice I still stay put. And now I can just give it a little tap of down thrust. And I'm rotating just to kind of see where I'm at. Get away from that tree, and she's down. So for this one, I really just used vector hold mode for the last part, and I used space brake to transition from decoupled mode to vector hold mode without falling out of the sky, and it also gave me a opportunity to center all my sticks and get the gear down. Okay, as promised, here's an approach with mouse and keyboard. I'm decoupled now. Gear is coming down. I can only do that a little earlier with mouse and keyboard just because I'm not as good and it's a little easier this way. This is a pretty hot approach though, and right around here is when I realized that and mashed the brake. But as you can see, stop on a dime. I didn't even have it in VTOL mode. Unfortunately, I don't have the external view for this part, but I'll switch in a second. And you can see that while I'm in this vector hold mode, I'm only tapping keys. Just little taps. That's all you gotta do. It makes for very smooth movement. Hit the brake there because of the tree. And then I'm gonna hit the brake here again to freeze my backwards movement. And then just tap control. And now hands are completely off. Basically lends itself. Nice and easy. Alright, that's pretty much all I got. Hopefully you found some of this useful. Let me know in the comments if you're a veteran Star Citizen player, or if you're a new player. I'm curious to know if anyone has used this technique for a long time, or maybe you're about to start using it. Also let me know if you have any extra tips and tricks, or if there's something that you'd like me to cover in the next one. Until next time, see ya!